third keynote speaker meeting. I mean, the very first one, which we decided to do to promote the club and obviously to promote Rotary, involved Sammy Kinghorn, who is in fact, as we speak, getting up in Rio de Janeiro at the paraplegic game over there. And Sammy has now become an honorary member of our club. So if any of you got the opportunity over the next few days, here in action at Rio, and it would be great if she could come back with a few gold medals. Our second online meeting in the family, we had Joy's cousin, Anne Van Hine, who is actually a guide at what I always need to call Ground Zero, but I think it's a different name these days, because she lost her husband there. He was a firefighter on that occasion. So Anne spoke to us, generated a lot of interest, and obviously we're delighted, Michael, that you're joining us tonight. Now, just to try to keep this in sort of perspective and to swap some information with people, as an online club, and I mean, Branovan clearly regrets very much not being on tonight. I mean, he's our president, but he's detained in Leeds, not in our mail, but it's business, he tells us, but he does send his greetings to everybody here. And as a sort of an online club, we're everywhere but nowhere. Sort of an itinerant club that obviously meets up online, but we also try to meet up once a month if possible. Sometimes that doesn't quite work, with a local cluster of people so that we know what we're doing. The club is truly international. Our president is from Sri Lanka. We have a German member, and hopefully we're going to have some more, and that'll be super. Cluster of Scots, and me, who's from Guyana. And I without question, our club should get the membership award for increasing the numbers too quickly. So, or very quickly this year. So, just to tell you very briefly as well, what we do. I mean, we're raising funds. We're hoping to form a Rotary Kids group with one of the schools in Edinburgh, and we've commissioned, for those of you who may know the background, one of the End Polio Bear paintings that's been done by our friend and yours, George, who is busy getting it dried off at the moment and sending it across to us. So, and this is a unique one, folks, because he's imposed Edinburgh Castle behind it. So George Lewis, being the man that he is, has sent it to us at very nominal rates so that we can raise money for End Polio now. So I think, having said that, just to give you a little bit of a snippet as to what we do, I think I'd like to move quickly on to introduce Michael, who, as I said earlier, is our third keynote speaker. Michael, as many of you know, is a district governor in America this year, District 6380. And I know they're proud to have him as their district governor, and we're proud to have him as our keynote speaker tonight. Michael, without question, is regarded as one of the top keynote speakers in America, an author of the 5 Cool Ideas book series, and incidentally, a Rotarian for over 20 years. And I have to say, Michael, you don't look it, and that's great. And thank you for being here. He's delivered over 2,000 paid presentations on the subject of leadership and speaking and customer service. And you know what Rotarians are. When anyone found out he was prepared to speak to Rotary and not to charge, then he's been absolutely inundated. He's here on the same basis tonight. And incidentally, Michael does teach presentation skills, and as you'll soon see, and you'll discover it very quickly, he does it with great humour and motivational flair. Michael is obviously very much involved with his partner Renee in all of this and Rotary, and they reside in Michigan. I need to put this in as a little bit of background. He enjoys movies, photography, and I don't fully understand the significance of this, Michael, but I'm sure you'll let us know. and he's not eaten ketchup in over 15 years. So without any further ado, fellow Rotarians, on behalf of the members of our club and our president, I'd like to ask Michael to entertain us and enlighten us this evening. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Herbert. Fantastic introduction. Most of it is true. It's a pleasure to be with you today. In fact, I'm fresh from my own Rotary Club meeting here in Troy, Michigan, not far from where Allison is in Southern Ontario. Herbert has asked me to speak a little bit about the power of the first impression. And the first impression, as we know, is very critical in Rotary in terms of membership. If you're looking to have donations for your club, if you're looking to gain sponsors for an event that you're doing, how you approach people, how you initially come on to them is very, very key. And so I remember first being enchanted with this idea of the first impression when I was studying Dale Carnegie way back when I was young. You all know who Dale Carnegie is in almost every corner of the world, I think. Have you heard of Dale Carnegie in Ghana? Dale Carnegie was a gentleman who was known as a people person. And he early on, he said that the person who reaches out his hand first has influence in any interaction. And if you think about this, how it works with a person that you're meeting is that when you reach out your hand first to shake hands, that they would respond to you, right? They would reach out their hand to shake hands with you. And then you would say, nice to meet you. And then they would say, nice to meet you. And you're already influencing the interaction because the other person is modeling your speech and your behavior. So it's a very powerful little tool for communication. And because I'm going to teach you some persuasion skills in this call, I need you to take the Michael Angelo Caruso pledge. Would you do that with me? It's quite simple, but I'm going to need all of you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'll wait. I need everybody. The pledge is, ready? I promise never to use my powers for evil.
I promise never to use my powers for evil.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
So please never use your powers for evil. Now, come into a Rotary Club for the very first time. We know that visitors are very key to us growing our organization. And we know that a club, by definition, treats its own members better than it treats everyone else. Do we actually treat visitors to our club differently than we treat our own members? And if we do we treat them better or do we treat them worse? You think about how you greet people you know. There's a friendly smile, even a familiar smile, and you're a lot less tentative. You're more effusive. You're more direct with those people. You have a relationship with them. But you might be more hesitant with a stranger. You might be more tentative. You might even be nervous. In some cases, we don't greet visitors at all at our Rotary Club meetings because we're too busy saying hi to other people. Like who? Our members, people that we know. And so the idea here is that you would somehow find a way to be nice to everybody when they come in the door of the Rotary meeting. And the first 15 seconds is really, really key. So I'm going to show you some tips in the next few minutes here about how you can do this. It's going to be very powerful for you. And I want you to take a couple of notes, if you will. So the very first thing I want you to do when you meet somebody for the very first time is I'd like you to smile. And I mention this now because if you don't smile, a lot of people don't smile naturally. Like Joy is smiling all of the time. And but not everybody does. Even if you look at the screen right now, just look very quickly at the screen, there are some people who are not smiling. And actually that's pretty normal because behavioral psychologists say our normal expression is called a neutral expression or a resting face. Allow me to demonstrate, watch. That's my resting face. No smile, totally neutral. I went to get a passport photo taken recently, and the lady taking the picture, she says, "Don't smile." So I went, I couldn't stop smiling because she said, "Don't smile." So it took us a while to get that sorted out, but they don't want to smile in your passport photo because it changes your face. It doesn't look like you anymore. Smiling is actually unnatural. The natural expression is no expression. You with me? So what happens when we walk around with no expression is that we're not as friendly and not as engaging. So the very first step would be that when you see somebody, you would have a natural smile on your face. Not an easy thing for some of us to do. The second thing is Dale Carnegie's tip, that you would hold out your hand and initiate the introduction, the formal part of the introduction. And when I visit clubs, not only as a district governor, which I do this year, but when I visit clubs to speak or whatever I do when I'm with them, I always try to hold out my hand first, because I think it's good modeling. It creates influence, as Dale Carnegie said, and it also shows warmth. So I have a campaign that I ask every Rotarian to greet every guest. Now, this is a lot more difficult on an eClub because we can't shake hands, but I can tell you I've friended a couple of you on social media already during the waiting period before we got the program going. So Allison, if you check your Facebook, you'll find that there's a friend request there waiting for you from me. And I got to somebody else on LinkedIn, and the idea is that I had that extra reach out, right? And we might normally do this after the call, and that's fine, but I beat you to it. And there's points for that in the game of life, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you are still working and you're involved with persuasion of any kind? Maybe you're in a leadership capacity. Just a show of hands if you're in a leadership capacity, or you're in a sales capacity of any kind. Sure. Maybe you give presentations. Hands up if you ever give presentations. And so you're in a position to influence people by using these techniques if you care to. So the first one is to smile. The second one is to hold out your hand and physically greet the person in whatever way you can. As I say online here, we metaphorically will greet someone. The third thing that you can do is to ask what are called yes questions. Because when you ask someone yes questions, you become psychologically attractive. So I might say to you something like, are you having a good day today? It's a built-in yes question. Now there will be people that say, no, I'm not having a good day today. And those are what we call, well, they're having a bad day. There are some people that are having a bad day every day, and you'll never get a yes from them. But when you ask yes questions, are you having a good time at this event? Did you have a good weekend? It's a very good, strong yes question. You set up the interaction to be positive in nature. So notice I didn't say, hey, what's the worst thing that happened to you this week? I said, are you enjoying the event today, right? Or I might say, it's nice to meet you, which is, again, a yes, it's an agreeable type of sentiment. Not everybody does this. So what happens when you start combining these techniques, when you smile as you ask the yes question, and then you nod your head yes? This is called, in sales, a yes question. And it's a good way to set up a sale, because you ask a bunch of small little questions like, does this sound good to you so far? Are you interested in what I'm saying? Would you like to join us for lunch again sometime? Right? And you nod your head yes. Now, it's not that they would say yes because you nod your head yes, but you must admit that's very hypnotic. I'm going to ask you a yes question and nod my head yes. I want you to say no. You ready? Are you enjoying my program today?
No.
You're good. Most people struggling with that. Most people want to go with me on that. They'll say, yes, I am. Yeah, she's still saying no. Okay, I heard you. So the idea would be that you would start combining some of these techniques. Now, a while back, there was an author by the name of Rick Warren, and he wrote a book called The Purpose-Driven Life. And Rick Warren's idea was that you would live life with purpose. So I would suggest you try to use these techniques, and you use the first 15 seconds with purpose. So in my first 15 seconds at my Rotary Club today, when I walked into the room, we have a medium-sized club. There might have been 33 or 34 people there today. Right away, I knew who the visitors were. I knew we had 3 visitors, people I had never seen before. And although I have lots of friends in the club, everybody wants to know what's going on with the district governor, there's a lot of meeting and greeting, I am on my way to meet the new people. because if I don't meet them before the president rings the bell, I won't be able to meet them. The meeting will start. So when I walk in, I'm on a mission, and Renee knows this. When we attend Rotary meetings, I try to walk in with her, but if we get distracted or we get pulled apart, she knows it's nothing personal. I just want to make sure I get to the new people right now. I often try to take Renee with me. Sometimes she takes me with her to meet the new people, but we know that this is a high priority. And so today I went and met the new people, and one of the gentlemen works at a company called Sullivan Film, and I don't know if you can see on this, but his name is Sven. He was visiting from a club in Virginia, and he happens to be the Executive Vice President of Marketing and Sales. Executive Vice President of Marketing and Sales. Pretty cool. And we traded cards. And now I'm connected with this gentleman the rest of my life, if I care to be, and if he cares to be. So I leveraged that 15 seconds with purpose so that he and I could benefit from it later on. Now, I know many of you know how to do this already, and some of you are very good at it. But what happens sometimes is we get distracted. I can tell you that Renee and I went to a festival this weekend just down the street here in Royal Oak, Michigan. Allison, you know where Royal Oak is? And we went to a festival called the Arts, Beats, and Eats. There were over 250,000 people at this festival during the weekend. And everybody waits for this festival because it's the high point of the summer. It's Labor Day weekend here, a 4-day holiday weekend. And everybody came to this festival excited to attend. And here's how they looked when they were walking around the festival. Because that's the neutral expression. That's the resting face. So my point is that a lot of us, we go to Rotary and we try to sign up new members, and we're not taking advantage of that first 15 seconds. I did a ride-along with a police officer not long ago to find out what goes through a police officer's mind when he stops you for a speeding ticket. And the things that he does in the first 15 seconds have nothing to do with giving you a ticket. What is he mostly concerned with in the first 15 seconds? Anybody? His safety. His safety. And so he knocks on the hood, the trunk of the car, or the boot, as some of you call it. And he wants to make sure the boot is hollow and not full. He stands behind you when he's talking to you, because if you're statistically right-handed and you have a weapon, it's going to take you a few fractions of a second longer to reach all the way around to harm him. And so the 15 seconds can be a matter of life or death for a police officer, not so much for Rotarians. I'm happy to take any questions, and as I see an indicator from you that you have a question, I'll be happy to entertain questions. Someone's going to have to look after the audio for me. Luca, what do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a strategy consultant for a German company, or international company, basically.
Okay, and do you find your own clients?
Not yet, I don't, but in the future I will have to, yes.
Okay, so you know this technique that I'm teaching today about the first 15 seconds is very powerful at networking events, Chamber of Commerce, even wedding receptions. Luca, are you single?
Yes, I am.
You could meet your wife this way.
Yeah, but probably. Sounds a lot like neuro-linguistic programming to me, though.
That's exactly right. He's referencing an old technique from the 80s. Good for you, sir. It's called NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, and it's about body language and how body language can work for you or it can work against you. Quick little anecdote, Luca. I'm on the district, I'm organizing a district conference that you're all invited to. Phil Abraham, right beneath me on my screen, is in our district. That's Phil. And our district conference this year is in a world-class tourist destination called Mackinac Island. It's at the very top of Michigan.
Okay.
Am I doing it right?
That's it, Michael.
The very top of Michigan. And people fly from all over the world to come to this travel destination at the Grand Hotel. So you're invited. We have people coming from Britain. It's May 4 through 7. And if you send me a message, I can get you the link and information and so on. It's very inexpensive.
Yeah, thank you. I'll look into that.
Great. The reason I'm mentioning it, Luca, is that I have a conference committee, and there's 10 people on the committee. And a across the North America, about 10% of the district membership attends the most important event of the year. What's the most important event of the year for the district?
Changeover.
District conference.
Yeah.
My district has 1,735 members. So according to the formula, 10%, how many people can we expect to attend the district conference? 173.5. So I told my committee this, and they said, great, now we know how much food to order. We have 173 people coming to our conference. And I said, except this year, I'd like to have 400 people come to the conference. 400. Luca, 3 people on my 10-person committee did this when I said 400 people. What does this mean, Luca?
It's probably skepticism.
Yes, in NLP it means, can you scan NLC? In NLP it means, no, we won't have 400. No, I don't know how to get you 400. We can't have 400. And it's an interesting thing that 3 months later, I'm still hearing the number 400, only I'm hearing it from people on my committee. And now they're saying it. We have to try to get 400. Michael wants 400. They're doing their best to honor my wishes. So they told me they didn't believe it, and now they're telling me in various ways that they do believe it. One of the fastest ways that you can show interest in another person, I see 1, 2, 3 people doing it on this call right now, is called the thinker pose. Actually, one of the people doing it actually just looks tired. But the thinker pose is like this. You take one of your hands like this, and you just move it to the lower part of your face like this. Watch. And you might nod your head. Let's try it together. Everybody take one of your hands, put it at your side. When I say go, I want you to move one of your hands to the lower part of your face and say something like, that's interesting. Ready? Go.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there you go. And some of you are thinking, well, it feels fake that no one will ever think that you're serious when you do this, but it looks like a charm. People love it because it's a great way to show that you're interested in what the other person is saying. Another great way, by the way, is to hold a pen. It looks like I'm about to write down something you're saying. And it's people like it. All the newscasters in America hold a pen when they do the news. They never use it, they just hold it. It's fascinating to me. So let's take some questions about first impressions, handshakes, eye contact. What's on your mind? Yes, please.
I have a problem with, I'm all right when I start off talking to someone, but then I get distracted and I have real trouble holding eye contact. Is there anything I can do to stop myself from...
Are you saying eye contact?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I'll show you a couple of tricks. The first one I'll show you is for real life, and then I'll show you one for being on the webcam, okay? What is your first name?
Debs.
Sorry?
Debs. Oh.
Debs?
Yeah.
D-E-B-S.
Yeah.
Okay. So Debs, in real life, you want to practice what's called sustained eye contact. So now the camera, right? So it looks like I'm looking at you, Debs. Actually, everyone thinks I'm looking at them when I look up into the lens. Now the lens is up here. Watch. The lens is up in the center of my screen. If I look, watch what happens when I look at myself. See that?
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself. Now watch, I look at the lens. See the difference? I'm looking right through you. And this is what it's like in real life. A lot of times we get distracted. We're looking at their name badge, or we're looking at their, their hair, or we're looking at the person standing behind them. But when you look right at somebody like this, it's fantastic, Debs. And you stay in there for a few seconds if you can. And the reason this is important is because if you can't maintain sustained eye contact, the other person might not make good judgments about you. Because watch my eyes, Debs, if I'm shifting my eyes a lot while I'm talking, it makes me look shifty, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And so I want to hang in there with you just like this. And what helps is if I'm very confident, that seems to help. If I know my content, I can stay in it with you. I haven't read anything since I've been on the call other than that business card. And so I can dedicate myself completely to this sustained eye contact. Those are my best tricks for that. It takes practice.
Brilliant. I shall use that tomorrow at District Council.
Okay, very good. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, if I may, Michael, I have a question. Well, a question, but also a suggestion. The thing is that I totally accept what you're saying about eye contact and then the handshake, but I'm inclined to believe that it is largely a Western construct, because in some other cultures, looking straight, making sustained eye contact is considered as rude, and also the handshake. You only, pull out your hand if the elder of the two, does so. So if you meet someone who is older than you, or someone who you perceive to be more powerful or more influential than yourself, you don't, hold out your hand. You wait for that person to hold out their hand, and then you kind of reciprocate. But I understand what you're saying perfectly. But just to say that, in some cultures, it could be misconstrued, as rude if you do it routinely. So one has to be aware of the cultural, the cultural considerations and what may go wrong. Yeah, really.
So this is part of my challenge now as we teach in what's becoming an increasingly smaller world. Look at just this little microcosm we have today of United Nations on this call. We're calling in from several continents, right? Over a dozen countries probably. And he's exactly right, is that when I give my basic explanation, I'm of course speaking about my culture or my natural habitat, if you will, which is the United States or North America. But in Asia, it's different. In Africa, it's different. And you need to pay attention to what's happening in those other areas. Now, if in my country, sir, I waited to shake hands with people because I happen to be younger than everybody, I would never get any business deals. So you have to kind of pay attention to your environment, and the point is very, very well made. Thank you very much. Here are some gender sensitivity as well, right? I shake hands differently with men than I do with women.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. With men, I'm more aggressive. I rush in the last fraction of a second. I hit the gentleman on his right shoulder with my left hand. I never hit a woman. So my voice is softer with women, right? So all kinds of little things that take place when we shake hands. What other questions do you have about first impressions, eye contact, what to say? Yes, sir.
In Germany, we have a saying that you can't make a first impression twice. What do you think about that, and what would you do to correct the first impression?
Well, I don't like to put too much pressure on people, mathematically speaking, and I do know that Germans like to be mathematically correct.
And punctual.
Yeah, and punctual. You cannot make a second first impression, but you do get to make a second impression the first time. And so if you mess up something the first time, it could be better. You can always make amends on the second go around. Sometimes you can actually do that by calling attention to the first snafu. I saw you a few minutes ago, but I got rushed along and I wasn't able to spend any time with you. My apologies. Tell me more about why you're here this evening. So by calling attention to what happened the first time, I can put myself in better standing with the person, even though it's the second impression. Sometimes you get a first impression on the telephone, but then you get a first impression in personal meeting. So Luca, we're meeting now for the very first time in an electronic webinar. But if we go to the Rotary International Convention in Atlanta in June, we get a chance to meet for the first time in person. And so it's a different kind of a setting. That's another way to think of it, I suppose.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Herbert.
Hi, Michael, could I just draw on your experiences now within a few months of being district governor, because we're all really keen, universally, on increasing membership. Now, are there any tips that you can give? Because I'm not altogether convinced that we all carry out our Rotary in the same way, and that's down to culture, it's down to continence, and it's down to people. Can you, you know, any prime moves that you've made, or you've given advice to your team to really start to get the membership bandwagon rolling?
Yeah, it's a what's called a intractable problem, seemingly unsolvable. Rotary has struggled with membership for a long time, not in bringing people in, but keeping people in our organization. So let's talk about two things. One is why it is that we're not pulling more people into the greatest service organization in the history of the world. And then the second question is, why can't we keep them? So one of the problems with getting people in is sometimes Rotary is not its own best friend. Rotary was founded, Herbert, in my opinion, this is actually fact, Rotary was founded over 100 years ago in a time that was steeped in protocol, procedure, and pretense. The 3 Ps, protocol, procedure, and pretense. And to this day, we have a lot of protocol and pretense and procedure in Rotary. I'm okay with a lot of it, but 30-somethings and 40-somethings have had it up to here with us ringing bells and fining them, and how slow the meetings move because we got to do all this stuff, Robert's rules, all this kind of thing. And so that's the first issue, is we've got to stop doing things that actually push visitors away from us, in my opinion. And I tell my clubs this. The second thing is that we have to deliver on the, what we call in sales, the value proposition. Have you heard that term, everybody? The value proposition is why people join in the first place. So if someone joins Rotary for a feeling, and it's hard to sell somebody a feeling, but if they join because they want to feel a certain way, and they do feel that way when they join, why don't they feel that way a year later or 2 years later? What changed? And it's a different answer for everybody that leaves, but I do think there are patterns for this, and I know we've got some smart people in Evanston working on the patterns. But if you look just at young people again, young people get all excited about doing something, giving back, systemizing their give back. But after they're in the club for a year or two, they look around, they say, well, I'm not really like anybody in this club. I'm 20 years younger. And the young people would leave us. And so we have to watch out for that and try to keep an eye on it if we can. I see a hand. I don't know how to call on you. In the blue top.
Judith.
Hi, Judith.
Hi. My daughter lives in Ferndale, which is right next to where you are. He tried to find a Rotary club in your area and ended up with the sort of syndrome of lots of men quite older than she is. She's 29. And she ended up joining, and I'm looking at it right here, the Metro Detroit Young Professionals Kiwanis, because she's found a group of people more her age. And I don't necessarily think that clubs should be age specific. She did try to join Rotaract because she knew about that, because we've been involved in that when we lived in Africa. The only Rotaract group around was at Wayne State University, which is not close to where she lives, and so on. So I think there's a real issue of using my daughter as an example, a 29-year-old who in the end joined Kiwanis instead of Rotary. You're muted.
I'm happy to make a second first impression.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like to send her my contact information, I'd be happy to reach out and invite her to one of our social events. I wouldn't want to take her away from her Kiwanis group if she enjoys it. But my email address is very simple. It's Michael Caruso 6380, which is my district, 6380,
okay,
gmail.com.
Okay.
If you just send an email to your daughter and an email to me, I'll say hi to both of you and invite her to a couple of events.
Okay.
She can bring some friends and just have a glass of wine or whatever.
Sure.
But this is a classic Rotary tale. We don't just hear it from people like Judith. We hear it from all kinds of people that we can do better with this type of thing. We all have our stories. We can all add a story to this. The question is, when are we going to start recognizing that Rotary can be a better fit for young people? I did visit, I noticed we have a few older people on this call. I did visit a Rotary club recently, and I always ask, are you interested in growing your club and helping it grow? And curiously, not everyone raises their hand when I ask that question, and I always mention it. I say, I noticed a couple of you didn't raise your hand. And I actually think there are some clubs that don't care to grow.
Yes.
You know, and if we say we value the truth in Rotary, right? It's one of the tenets of the four-way test. And so if we value the truth, then we have to be truthful with ourselves that in some cases we're an organization that doesn't really care to grow. And then you start with that, and then you can start really looking at the problems. Judith.
Yes, I'm again just looking at the young professional Kiwanis and how is it different to some of the things you said. Have less formal meetings, place greater emphasis on hands-on service and check writing, have less expensive club dues, meet less to ultimately serve more, not levy fines at meetings, and place a greater emphasis on the fun factor of Kiwanis. Do we have something like that in Rotary?
No, but I'd like to join that organization.
I know, me too. I don't know if they have an upper age limit, but you know.
That's pretty clever marketing, because it sounds like they took a list of all the things we do and said, we're not going to do those things.
And the other thing that they do to raise money is they market their social media experience to other Kiwanis clubs who don't know how to do it. That's how they raise money.
Hey, would you do me the favor, Judith, of sending me that link so I can have a peek?
Absolutely.
Okay, because if they're going to borrow stuff from us, we might as well reciprocate. What other questions do we have? I know Herbert's watching the clock for us.
Yeah.
Herbert, who is the group of people down here? I'm curious.
That's online with us tonight.
Oh, okay, so you're on your own camera and they're with you?
No.
Griffin from Swansea Bay Rotary Club.
That's it. We have the whole club. People who may not be there, from the Rotary Club of Swansea Bay in Cardiff.
Okay.
You see,
He's about to be thrown out of Wales now.
Yeah, the sun has got to me. So we really have a first there. We've got a real good influx of people tonight.
Okay, great.
I think Molly's wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, it was just a comment on the relaxed idea of Rotary clubs, and we do in District 1180 actually have such clubs where the rule book has practically gone out the window in favour of being project-led rather than meeting-led. And in fact, that one of the newest clubs, the president of that club is my daughter, and she came back from San Diego really enthused as a non-Rotarian, not only became a Rotarian herself, but started up a whole new club, which chartered on the 5th of July, and she's recruited 3 more members since then. She's now up to 24 and still recruiting. And they are very, very relaxed in their attitude.
Yeah.
They only meet once every 2 weeks, but they are buzzing with projects. They've had 2 very, very successful fundraisers already and are planning a major one for Christmas. So it can work. So along with your Kiwani, was it your Kiwani group? Rotary does do something similar, and it works.
Yeah, and you know, there are plenty of Rotary clubs who are very vital and active and good at marketing. We just have some work to do, right? Yeah, I like what's happening on Facebook, because Rotary used to be in the terrible habit of taking a picture of what we do most often in Rotary. Does anybody know what we do most often?
Shake hands. No, show the chains.
Well, we eat a lot, yeah, sure. But we listen to speakers at meetings. We eat for 15 minutes, and then we listen to a speaker for 30. And so if you just took a picture of what's happening most often at Rotary meetings, it's a bunch of people sitting around. And it bugs me when people take that picture like this is what Rotary is, and then they post it on Facebook like, aren't we fun? And I'm like, no, please stop posting pictures of us sitting around. That's not what we do. And yet, It is kind of what we do.
We do.
These groups that pledge to be active and out there in the field and stuff, I think it's a good way to go. We'll do my friend from Canada and then back up to Herbert.
I love everything that you're saying, and what actually got me started in Rotary was a club very much like that. It was in Regina, and no meals. It was a $5 meeting fee. There was babysitting services for younger people to come out, so they didn't have to, they could actually be involved. And it was a smaller club, and it was a younger club, but it was that. And I can't really say it too much now because I have gray hair of my own, but it was very much not the gray hair, gray suits that I would be. The difficulty I'm having now in our club, we are still a younger club. I think our average age is about 50. We're over 50% women. But a lot of our membership have been there right from the start, right from chartering. And so they're used to being in this role and what Rotary looks like, and we're getting younger and younger, but they're the ones doing all the work, and it's really hard to get that change happening. And I don't know how. I don't want to crack a whip because everybody's there on their own volition. We're paying to volunteer, and I don't know any insight or guidance or anybody else dealing with this because it's a pain.
What club are you in Southern Ontario?
It's Rotary Club of Quinte Sunrise. We're in District 7070.
Okay, very good. When you say crack the whip, what do you want to get them to do?
Take pictures of us doing stuff. We do a lot of stuff, but nobody thinks to even take a picture about it. So if I'm not there with my phone taking a picture, we have zero documentation for our social media outlets, which is how we're getting all of these newer members. So
So here's a couple of ideas, Allison. One is you want to choose an assistant or have the president.
I am the assistant.
I understand what you're saying, but it has to be somebody else in addition to you. So you're going to teach somebody how to do it, or the president is going to delegate somebody to the position. You have to have a backup for you.
Yes.
And I know it can be done because there are other people in the room with cameras. Now, so that person's in the room, it's just that you don't have it set up yet. So that's the first thing. The second thing is ego is a very powerful motivator. So when you use the photos and post them and tag people, and forgive me, I don't know how you're doing business over there, but you tag people and you say really nice things about them, they'll start paying more attention to the photos. I suspect there may be a problem with them not seeing the photos, maybe because they're not on Facebook themselves, yeah?
Possibly, yeah.
So these are the tricks that I've seen work in the field. Just a couple. We can continue correspondence after this, but those are a couple of quick ideas. Okay. Herbert, you're watching the clock for us, yeah?
I'm fine, but I would just like to add a couple of points to that, wearing my public image hat. I mean, the one thing I would like to ask everyone to do from tonight is do please go away and talk about the good things. We often have a tendency, to beat ourselves up, talking about these old people and we don't do this and we don't do that. But Rotary is very good at doing lots of things. It's great at raising money. It's great at energizing other people. But what we don't do is often get the message across. So if you do nothing else from tonight, and I do hope that you will, and I'm sure you will, having got this great enthusiasm from Michael, do talk about the good things and make sure that people who are showing an interest know about the good things. And if we do that, it will be self-generating and we will attract interest.
Yeah, and to your point, Herbert, I mean, I've pushed out a lot of promo about this webinar. I didn't push out the link because it wasn't part of our plan. But the idea would be that Zoom and webinars are going to be huge for Rotary. And so even now, I'm still taking screenshots. I hope you're smiling. Because by pushing out screenshots of what we're doing today, people are saying, oh my gosh, who are all those people? In my post, I'm going to say there was a guy on from Germany. There was a guy on from Ghana. There were people on from Scotland. There was a guy smoking on this webinar.
Way to go, James.
Because it's interesting. This is new for Rotary, and Allison is exactly right. We are obligated to tell people about it. We're pioneers. This Phil Abraham guy in my district is a pioneer for Rotary. He's on our IT help desk, and he turns more people on to the wonders of technology. And Rotary needs him because we have a lot of older people that don't understand how to share a contact on a cell phone.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know how to do a screenshot on a cell phone. And so here we go.
Yep. Okay.
That is not my phone.
Sorry.
Can you hear me? I don't want to ask another question now, but I do think, although we were a few minutes late, we are rapidly running out of the old enemy time, and I would like to ask our President-elect Nee if he'd be kind enough just to thank you, Michael, for what you've said to us and the manner in which you did it, and also for everyone tonight who's taken the time and trouble to join us.
Well, thanks, Herbert. Fantastic, Michael. Really fantastic. On behalf of the Rotary eClub of Southern Scotland, a very special thank you to you, Michael, our speaker, for such an informative and educative presentation. We are ever so grateful. And then to everyone else, we thank you for your attendance, your attention, and your participation. We are very, very grateful. And do remember that your seats have been reserved at this club. Come again. We welcome you with open arms. But Michael, really, really thank you. I mean, very thought-provoking, and I think we are better for your presentation tonight. Thank you. Back to you, Herbert.
Yeah, thank you, Nee, and thank you for those great words of summing it all up. I just want to say, finally, where else could you enjoy and actually engage with this quality of experience, quality of presentation, than by a member of an eClub and by using technology? And even if clubs are not eClubs, they can still, I am sure, bring on board speakers of this caliber and involve.
Yes.
And you know, not to rest the case on this, and you heard it first here tonight, folks, a date for your diary on the 7th of December, which is our final meeting for this calendar year in terms of keynote speakers. We have Jennifer Jones, who's going to be talking to us.
Excellent.
And that made Michael smile. So, you know.
Smile is normally she's my opening act.
So there you have it, folks. Something else big to look forward to. And thank you very much. I don't know whether anyone has got a final word, but we're running up to the 1 hour time, and this has been absolutely super. And thank you all.
Can I just make one last comment on behalf of the eClub, just to say that those people that are attending this evening, I will send an email out to you in the next few days, just asking for your comments and for your feedback. It's one of the things that we do after all of our meetings, just to gather information on those people that attended, just so that we can hopefully improve and keep going forward and keep getting better at doing this. So look out for my email coming through.
Thanks, Helen.
Perfect. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, goodbye, Michael.
Bye, Michael.
Bye, Michael.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'll get in touch, Michael. Bye.